Donald Trump is going to sign an executive order today making English the official language of the United States. Let me explain why that is A, ridiculously hypocritical, B, hugely discriminatory, and C, hugely discriminatory, particularly against children. Okay, so number one, why is it hypocritical BS? Because Donald Trump, and forgive me for this, is very, very bad at English. If anyone knows the rules and the grammar of the English language, you would look at any time he puts out a tweet or anything like that at how painfully bad at using English correctly he happens to be. In other words, I think most of the people who are running around saying everyone should have to speak English to be able to participate in our country are also people who are often unable to tell me the difference of when you're supposed to say greater than or less than, when you're supposed to use it's with or without an apostrophe, or for instance, like, is it more correct to say, to whom should I write this email or who should I write this email to? Most people couldn't tell me. And if you were to say that my making fun of people for that is a bunch of elitist BS, I would agree. We shouldn't use really things that come down to people's kind of cultural engagement with language as a means by which to hold them back or make fun of them or make them feel like they're dumb or to treat them like they're dumb. But we're happy to do it when it's other people, especially if they're Spanish-speaking people. Now, why is it discriminatory? This isn't just a matter of flag waving and saying, okay, well, it's our official language. It's a matter of saying any agency that receives federal funding, whether or not they're actually a governmental agency, no longer will be required to make sure that the people who are reading any documents or who are trying to make a phone call or communicating with someone who's receiving federal funding has to understand it. In other words, you don't have to make sure that they get those contracts in the language that they speak. You don't have to speak to them and you don't have to provide them some sort of translation. You don't have to provide any of that. In other words, they're signing a thing, they're trying to get Medicaid, Medicare. You don't have to make sure that they understand it. It'll be up to them to have to afford getting a translator or something like that, which, let's be honest, most people who are on some sort of government assistance, for instance, can't afford. So it's a way of making sure that we prioritize only people who speak English here in this country, despite the fact that there's so many languages spoken here, and we were fine. It wasn't slowing government efficiency down just to make sure that, elderly people who speak another language understand the contracts that we're trying to make them sign in the first place. Okay, and why is it especially bad for kids? Well, who are the people least likely to be able to speak English coming here into the United States? They're children of immigrants, right? They're children who are going to school as they should. They should be provided with an education. Immigrants have done so much for our country, but these kids often struggle already because we'll have them take a math test, but the instructions will be in English or the word problems will be in English. And then they do poorly on the math tests and we get to say, haha, see, these kids, these immigrants, they're bad at math. They're just dumber. No, they just don't speak English. If we gave them the test in the language that they're best at, they might be even better at it than the rest of the children in that class. So it's a way of holding their children back too.